Hey everyone, it's your host Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today we are in for some sauce. I found you guys an incredible man, a family man, marriage counselor, and author of the Couples Communication Handbook. Mr. Raffi Bilek is coming to the Gentleman Style Podcast stage, and we are going to get funny. We're going to talk about relationships, marriages, why they're not winning, why we're not winning, and succeeding in this field. And he has said yes to helping us break back the barriers, break back the myths in his clinical expertise and what he's seeing and how we can do better in our marriages and relationships. And so, without further ado, help me welcome to the incredible stage this man. I can't hold him back. It's like a lion in a cage. Mr. Raffi coming to the Gentleman Style Podcast stage. Help me welcome Mr. Raffi Bilek.
Howdy, team. I don't know what the lion in the cage. Okay, I could try to roar or something or come out.
You're that awesome. But no, lion in the cage is the wisdom that you exude.
That I got. Yeah, no, that I got tons of it. My wisdom is pouring out. My wisdom is just screaming to come out, Marcus.
Absolutely. Sir, I appreciate you making time today on Gentleman Style Podcast stage. And I want to start with a curveball question. You honor us by serving a underserved community that is not doing well in relationships, in marriages. We're not winning. But you are in this field. You've been doing this field. I have to beg the question, why? You could do anything else, right? You have an incredible mind. You could do anything else. Why marriage and family counseling? And why write the book on it?
So I like people. That's the thing about me. I used to be in computers in college. I did a computer science degree, and it's just not the same. It's like you're talking to a machine, and then like in between your work jobs, you get to talk to people. And then so after college, I went and I taught kids how to do computers, and I found out that talking to people could be part of the job. That sounds nice, and it really fit me better. So I went into human services and working with people. And I just feel like this really resonates with me. Relationships are really where the happiness in our lives come from. And if I can help people get their relationships dialed in, there's so much happiness that I can spread. And I like that idea.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you wanted the connection between people and relationships because you saw that we were not winning. We weren't winning in this avenue. We weren't winning in this space. And you peel back the layers and you uncovered some things. You discovered some things that could help us win. Hence why you wrote the book, the Couples Communication Handbook. Tell us about the book. I want to start there. Tell us about the book. What can readers expect? What can people expect when they get their hands on this copy of this book?
Sure. So this book was written after, however many hundreds of thousands of sessions I've conducted. So many people come in and they start with, our communication is not good. We don't know how to communicate. Well, great. Let me help you teach you how to communicate, right? This can be done. This can be taught. So when you get into this book, you will get, actionable items, actionable ideas, clear methods for talking to each other that does not end up in a fight, that does not end up in a disaster, that helps you feel closer to each other. That's what I want for people. I want you guys to have good relationships, good marriages, and it can be done.
So it is possible. It's not too late because in a world where more and more this red pill community and the red pill community is feeding into marriages are not well, they're not beneficial anymore. Again, hundreds and thousands of studies, hundreds of thousands of clients. What is the common denominator that people most complain to you about their marriage?
Again, people come in, they say, we don't know how to communicate. They're fighting or they don't talk about problems. So they sweep it under the rug and they just feel disconnected. And if you're going to get two people and you want them to be connected, they have to be able to talk to each other about the things going on in their lives, about the good things, about the bad things, and especially about the ways that we're frustrated with each other, right? So many times it turns into a fight. It gets nasty. We don't get to talk about it. We don't feel better. But it's normal to disagree. It's normal to have friction in a relationship. And having some way to deal with that and to make that better is so critical.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that sounds like communication is key. Communication, I think you're right. Communication is key, especially in this space. They're not communicating, or at least they're communicating to you, but not each other. Have you ever had to do that? You ever had a couple or an individual come to you saying, I want to get better on my marriage. I want to work on me so that I can show up better to my marriage. And your advice is go back and tell your spouse what you just told me. Have you ever had that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are actually pretty decent at being able to communicate and articulate what's on their minds. They think that they have some kind of problem with, oh, I don't know how to communicate. I don't know how to say, but you do. In fact, I'll see you in the room talking about your feelings and talking about what's going on for you, and you're doing a fine job. And what's the problem? Often, really, the first problem is just the timing. They'll come in and they'll be mad about something and they'll go off on it and it'll become a disaster. Whereas for a lot of people, they know what to do. And if you would just wait a little bit. So the very first chapter in the book is time out, take a break. If you would just wait a little bit instead of running headlong into whatever is irritating you right now, you'd find that conversation would go a lot better. And I think that's true for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In your experience, I'm sure in your groups, right, your social groups where you connect with other therapists, other professionals, and you guys compare notes, right? What's the most ridiculous piece of marriage advice you've ever heard a colleague say or give to a client that was just completely just out of this world? Like, what's the worst piece of advice you ever heard?
The worst piece of I would have to think about that for a minute, but I'll tell you a bad piece of advice that I hear frequently, which is never go to bed angry. You've probably heard that one. I think
Yes.
it's bad advice, and I hear that all the time. And the reason is for the same thing I just told you. I've asked plenty of clients this. So, it's midnight and you're mad at each other and you decide we're going to hash this out right now. So what happens? What happens is now it's 3 a.m. and you're still mad at each other and now you're tired on top of it, right? Nobody solves things from 12 to 3 a.m. and having a knockdown, drag out fight. You can go to bed angry. That's allowed. It's not going to kill your marriage. What kills the marriage is the fights and the nasty and the horrible conversations. It's okay. It's okay to be mad at each other. And it's better to come back the next day when you've had a good night's sleep and you're calmer. And now you can have a good conversation. That is a much better idea.
Because we're cooler, we're calmer, we're well collected. We've gathered our thoughts, and we're better for it. We're able to communicate better and have a better dialogue the next
We're
day.
human beings. When something bothers you, you're not in the best frame of mind. You want to go in and get rid of it, and you don't handle that well. I'm the same way. I've been teaching people for years how to talk about things, and I don't do it in the moment. I take a break. When I'm irritated, I go somewhere else and I deal with it later.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Raffi, y'all, spilling the tea on Gentleman Style Podcast Show, helping you, me, we do better in relationships. So that's a bad. I love that you break that stigma. That's a bad advice, y'all. You heard it from Mr. Raffi himself. That's bad advice. Don't go to bed, man. You can go to sleep. Man, what if time is of the essence? Like, what if something that we're mad about needs to be dealt with? Then do you advise? Okay, go talk about it, but try these things.
So it's tough. The truth is, it's rare that there are things that are urgent. Usually I'm mad at you because you forgot to clean the dishes or because I don't like the way that you handled the kids there. Like, these are not emergencies. They often feel very urgent, but they aren't. Usually you can tell it's an emergency because there's blood on the floor. Short of that, it's rare that it's an emergency. But sometimes you got to figure out, okay, which one of us is going to pick up Timmy, right? Timmy's at soccer practice and one of us has to go and we're both tired. Yes, those are the toughest moments, right? It's very tough. Something has to be done now, but that's not a time to talk about, you never go pick him. I always got to pick him up. That's the time to say, okay, you know what? I got to go. I'll go, you go, rock, paper, scissors, whatever it is. I do rock, paper, scissors in my marriage quite a bit. Rock, paper, scissors, whatever it's going to be. You get Timmy. And then later, not when you come back and you're still fuming, the next day you'll sit down and say, hey, it really bothers me that I'm the one who always has to get Timmy from soccer practice. That's a time where you can talk about it and talk about it well.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. So now everything is a crisis. Like you said, if it's not blood and for, it can be referred out. It can be pushed out.
It's uncomfortable to sit next to each other and lie down in bed and be angry at each other. Sure, that's awkward. I'll tell you, awkward is a lot better than the alternative. Yeah, you face the opposite direction and you snort and everybody knows you're mad. Okay, that's not going to kill you. That's a much better alternative than spending 3 hours saying all the things that you wish you didn't say and can't take back now.
Absolutely. And your kid is still at daycare.
Yeah.
Like, you don't forgot your child at daycare, so now the child never got picked up. They're walking home or human traffic, God forbid. So you're so right. You teach skills that no one has ever learned. Can you speak to why we weren't taught these skills in the first place? Like, someone should be putting this out besides yourself.
This is a good question. Why do we, in high school, we learn dumb things like trigonometry, which do not benefit our lives? And we don't learn things like how to talk to somebody when you're having a difficult time. now more and more they're having social emotional learning curricula in schools, which I am all in favor of. But like you and me, man, why don't we learn something that was useful? I don't care what a cosine is. I haven't used that in years. But I got to talk to my wife about difficult things. It would have been good to get such an education. And why that hasn't been, I mean, I don't know. Humanity is evolving towards a place where, we get it more. We're more tolerant. There's more openness in certain positive and negative ways. And maybe it's just we're getting to this time in life where people are realizing we need this more.
When did the light bulb go off for you in your marriage? When did you say, okay, I got to make a shift because this, like you said, this trigonometry is not doing it for me. I need some real firm thing. Was it in school when you were going for your master's?
No, it was. I mean, it was actually. It wasn't really much of a shift because when I first got married, we had a bit of a train wreck. It was tough because
That's honest.
yeah. I mean, look, people put out things like, oh, abandonment issues. So my wife has abandonment issues because she was abandoned in a hotel when she was 1.5 years old. So she has abandonment issues. Like that's the real deal. So that manifested in a certain way is she would really try to sort of grab onto me. And I have this thing about being independent and not being controlled and all these things from my own history. So now you put these two things together and that does not go very well. Right. That was that really exploded. It wasn't terrible that we were fighting and screaming, but it was not comfortable. And we had to resolve that pretty quickly. We went to speak to a counselor and we went to figure things out and learn what needed to be different. I don't think that that's where I learned everything I need to know, but that got me on the path to thinking oh, there's a way we got to deal with this stuff. And over time, I really sort of, I learned a lot about the different modalities out there, the different methods that people have of couples counseling. I sort of put them together and brought out my own thing and had this way of presenting it that I thought could be really helpful. So that's why I wrote it up in a book, because there's only so many people I can reach myself, but I'm hoping to get the message out wider by putting it out there in ways that people can really absorb on their own.
Absolutely. So I see that now. The book is an avenue for those that who always have the excuse, right? The cliche, I can't afford a therapist. I can't afford Mr. Raffi. The book is a resource, is a tool to help me.
Absolutely. I think for a lot of people, it could be very helpful. It doesn't replace a therapist. A couples counselor is a good resource when you need it. And a lot of people could get a lot from it. But a lot of people could get a lot from oh, you know what? If I do it this way, this could help. Again, a lot of people, good people who mean well, who don't have serious, mental or emotional issues, just like your average people who haven't learned how to do this. Not to say that if someone has a mental health diagnosis, they can't, but the more issues you sort of pile on top, the more help you need. I'm hoping this book will be helpful to folks all over.
Absolutely. And is when people reach out to you, do you accept insurance? Are you primary out of pocket pay? How can people?
Primarily out of pocket for a number of reasons. One of which is that insurance actually does not pay for marriage counseling. Nearly every insurance says marriage is not a medical issue, which, okay, debatable. But you're not crazy and sick if you got married. And so they don't want to pay for it. What a lot of people do is they give you a diagnosis. Oh, you must be very anxious. We'll help you. And they do marriage counseling. So I'm not saying, look, for sure it would be great if insurance did cover whatever, but I really didn't want to run afoul of insurance. And I don't, I get that there's problems affording it. And I do some pro bono work. It's tough. It's tough. Look, I mean, I think the bottom line is you're not sick and crazy if you're having trouble in your marriage. It's a normal experience. You can get help. That doesn't mean you're sick. And I'm not going to tell you that you are mentally ill for that.
Absolutely. That's fair. I don't want to you don't want to misdiagnose someone just to perform ultimately with marriage counseling.
It's a common thing out there. I'm not judging anybody. I know people do it. I didn't want to do it. And so that's one of the reasons that I feel like I can't take insurance for this work.
That's fair. That's honest. That's all. The real deal, y'all. That's honest. Did I forget to mention a heart of pure gold? So I gotta ask. Do you subscribe? Is it in the book? Do you subscribe to Happy Wife, Happy Life? Is it a toxic cliche or a misunderstood truth that we all need to learn to accept and just follow through with?
I would say, like any slogan, there's some truth to it. Okay. Right? I don't think that the major things in life can be reduced to a couple of words that go in a soundbite. So happy wife, happy life is true in the sense that if you are focused on making your wife happy and you have a good relationship and a good marriage, yes, you will be happier. I mean, look, there's other things in life. If God forbid you have a serious medical diagnosis, you may not be so happy about that. But as far as having a happy marriage and that contributing to the happiness in your life, 100%. That said, there are ways that this gets twisted. For a woman to say, "Well, happy wife, happy life, it's on you." No, it's like this is a two-way street. I got to put into the marriage. You got to put into the marriage. Then we're gonna be happy. If I
Absolutely.
think totally about you and you think totally about me, and we're working on making each other happy, that'll be great. If I'm thinking about you and you're thinking about you, maybe less so.
So teamwork, reciprocity, right? Give and
Yeah,
take. It's a push and a pull, right? It's a give and take.
absolutely. There's two people in this marriage for a reason, right? God created two people to work together. He could have made one, but he didn't.
Right. Right. We win and we get farther together. So I'm so glad you said that. Reciprocity, that's what I'm hearing from you, Mr. Rafi, is
Yeah,
reciprocity,
preach.
right? And we work together, just like what you and your wife did. You realize, hey, we have a big problem. There's a gap here, and we need to figure out how to meet in the middle. Compromise. How often does that term come up, right? That buzzword, compromise.
Yeah,
You probably
compromise.
use it often, all the time.
So compromise is important, but I think that often people use that as a shortcut to not dealing with the issue. Meaning, if I
Mm,
don't like the way you do this and you don't like the way I do that, well, we'll meet halfway, right? Oh, I want to go to this restaurant. You want to go to that restaurant? We'll compromise. We'll go here, or you'll go here one time, or we'll go to a different one. Like, okay, that's a nice result, but I'm not sure that sometimes is used to get out of talking about what the deeper issues are, which is maybe we always go where you want to go, and I feel unheard. Or maybe we always go where I want to go, and I feel like I don't have a partner in this relationship. Like, where are you? Why don't you speak up ever? So there are deeper issues that's where the juicy stuff is. If I want to talk to you about what's going on in this relationship, in our lives, that's important, independent of what the solution is. So compromise is great, and yeah, you certainly have to do that at times. But I caution people against using that as the catch-all solution, because there's deeper stuff that you may not get to if you do that.
absolutely. It's a skip over. You're skipping over the hard stuff, right? You still need
It,
to come
it
back
could
and
be.
address it.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't
Yeah.
compromise ever. I'm saying, that definitely has a time and a place, but I don't think that is the one key principle that we should always aim for, because you might miss stuff.
Absolutely. That's fair. That's fair. I want to ask for your number one tip. I don't want you to give the secret sauce, but the best tip, you said, and I think you touched on one thing that stood out to me is timing. We oftentimes you communicate with our partners or try to communicate with our partners at the wrong time.
Yep.
But what's your number one tip for better communication in a relationship?
That's honestly it, is take a break. Take a break, man. This is the first chapter. It's the main thing. Again, a lot of well-meaning people could do this well if they didn't run into it right when they're angry. I come home and you haven't cleaned up the house, and now I'm irritated, and so I launch into it. That's going to go very poorly, right? Or maybe we start talking calmly, but then it starts to escalate because I'm mad and you're mad and I'm mad, and it just gets worse and worse. Take a break. Again, it's not urgent. If we would just pause and come back to it later, so many troubles would be avoided, right? When you sleep on it, you wake up in the morning, you're like, she was probably tired. She didn't have time to clean the house. It's just not that big a deal anymore. I tell people about half the things that you'll get upset about by the next day won't be a big deal, but half of them will, and you'll be in a better place to talk about it. So the number one tip is wait on it. Don't bring it up right now. Take a break if things get heated. Come back to it later. It will help a lot.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Love it. Can you share? I also hear as you're speaking is timing is one. That's a big one. But also two, I see couples reaching individual reaching out to you. I think that doesn't work if I just came to you and now you equip me with all the tools in your tool belt based off of the modalities that you utilize to help me become a better spouse, and then I try and take those home and communicate those to a partner that's unfamiliar. How effective or ineffective is individual counseling? Do you need both of us to be in there? Is it more effective when we're both there, or have you actually seen improvements where you worked with one member of the relationship and then they took it home and it actually worked out?
Yeah. So it's obviously certainly better if both of them are there working the system and doing it together, and trying to speak right to each other and listen well and all those things, for sure better. But there are definitely ways that one person can make a difference in the way the relationship is going. So for example, let's say you're still being belligerent and angry, and I'm really keeping myself calm, and I'm, instead of arguing back, I'll reflect back. I'll say, okay, so you're mad at me because I didn't clean up the house. Yeah, I get it. That makes sense. And I'm doing the things that I know work. So it's a little harder. It might be a little slower, but it can be effective. Of course, it's challenging. Like, if we're both working at speaking well and effectively and kindly, it's easier for me to keep my cool. If you're being obnoxious to me because you don't know how to do this well, and I'm trying to keep my cool, that's harder. Possible, can be effective, but harder. So yes, it can definitely work well, but if you can get both people in there, so much the better. Works faster, stronger, more effective.
Absolutely. I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for it. This is a Gentleman Style Podcast show, and we have the expert, the man, the myth, the legend, the grand poobah of relationship counseling here on the Gentleman Style Podcast show, and he is spilling the tea right now on the Gentleman Style Podcast show. I want to say we are on iHeartRadio, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Ghana, Facebook business page, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast, we are there. We're even on Audible. Check him out, listen in and tune in. This is gold. Mr. Raffi, what is the funniest you've ever helped a couple resolve? What's the just totally took you for a loop in your tenure, of your years of experience?
What took me for a loop? Okay, I get all kinds of funny things, and the number of times that we've talked about how you put the forks in the dishwasher, that comes up a lot. Like, that's the new toothpaste. They used to joke about you use the toothpaste from the top or the bottom. No, now it's the dishwasher. Tines down or tines up, right? Because you got the tines up, you might poke yourself, but but if you put them down, they don't clean as well. I don't know. Yeah, Marcus. Yeah, what do you do at home? You tines up or tines down?
I'm a times up person.
I think I'm a times up person also. I mean, I'll take the risk of stabbing my finger on the fork, but it gets clean. Okay, fine. People argue about these things. I think the one that threw me for a loop the most is I had a couple come in one time with infidelity, which is something that I unfortunately deal with quite a bit. And so he had slept with her best friend, which is a no-no. And it turns out that she wasn't mad about that at all. She was mad about the fact that he hadn't told her. Like, she would have been okay with it if he had just told her, but he didn't, and that was the upsetting part. And that was like, it just took me a little bit of reorienting my brain to like, okay, look, again, my job as a therapist is wherever you're at, I'll be there with you. If that's what bothers you, let's talk about that. But it really taught me that people come with their own perspectives, and it's not for me to judge. Again, I'm not bringing my own values into it. You guys need help. You want to have a good marriage? Okay, great. This is what it takes for you. But that one definitely, that was surprising.
So she would have been fine. Let me get this straight. She would have been fine, or he would have been fine.
So they had a rule that you can sleep with other people as long as you tell your spouse. That was the rule. Again, I'm not in favor. I'm not judging where they're going with that. That was their rule, and he violated that rule by not telling her. Right. Yeah. So when I'm hearing this, I'm like, oh my gosh, he slept with her best friend. This would be a problem. And she's like, no, that doesn't bother me. He was supposed to tell me, and he didn't. So I was like, oh, okay. And look, you're entitled to be mad at what you're mad about.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Yeah. What is your go-to modality? There's different. You touch on this, and I think you said you mentioned these in the book. But what is your favorite go-to modality when performing couples counseling? Is it Gotham? Is it focus? Is it what's your favorite modality?
Right. So there's a bunch of them out there, and what I'm doing is actually my own thing a little bit. It's called empathic dialogue, which is the system laid out in the book, and it really draws from a lot of classic ideas from other places. There's imago therapy, and their deep conversations of mirroring. I'm familiar with Gottman, like you mentioned, who's got a lot of good research, and so I put together the pieces that resonate with me. I think what the research has shown is that the different modalities work for different people. And the most important thing is the relationship with the counselor. So yeah, if you've got somebody good and you vibe with them and they're doing whatever these different kinds of, there are plenty of modalities that don't work at all. Like they used to have people go at foam bats and hit each other. Like, it's been shown that hitting each other with bats is actually not good. Research, but okay, that's not helpful. But there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and there's a lot of ways up the mountain. And so I've referred people out to other modalities when I said, you know what we're doing here, I think is not helping you. Try EFT, emotion focused therapy. That's not my jive. Okay, that might work better for you. For me, this thing that I do called empathic dialogue, it is most similar to something called relationship enhancement therapy, which is also research validated, which most people haven't heard of. Okay, there's different ways about it. But so that's my thing. It's called empathic dialogue, and it works, man. It works.
Love it. I'm trying to sell tickets, y'all.
I need more applause in my life.
I'm trying to sell tickets. I'm trying to get people to connect because, like I said earlier, and I truly meant this. We're not winning. We're not winning in marriages. We're not winning in relationships, and we're separating and we're dividing, and we're thinking we're dividing and conquering, and we're dividing and losing.
Yeah.
And so, if we can get back, and more people need to be aware of it, if we can get back to the center and get back and work together, we would I think we'd be much further along as a people, as
Yeah.
individuals, as a couple.
At the end of the book, I talk about how these skills are really generalizable. And when we switch to a mindset of understanding and listening and empathy, not just for our spouses, but when that becomes a part of us, then I can bring that to other people. I can bring that to my clients. I can bring that to the people I talk with. I can bring that out to the world. And boy, would the world be a better place if people came from a place of empathy and understanding instead of, well, let me tell you why you're wrong.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've heard this, and I've heard this from a friend of mine. He thinks his partner is dumb. Right? He thinks his partner is dumb. He's and he for sake's purposes, he's a highly intelligent guy. But I would never talk out of my skin and say my partner's dumb. Why? And he struggles in his marriage. Why do you think smart people, successful people, right, celebrities, all the celebrity, all the stuff, what do you think struggle in their marriages? I- I- Is that the I think that's is that the right mindset to have when you're going in? And like, no, you're not smarter than her, or you're not smarter than him.
I think that people who are smart and successful think they ought to be smart and successful at this without much effort, right? If you are really intelligent, you think, well, I'm intelligent, I should be able to do this. Why should this be so hard? But the fact of the matter is, marriage is not trigonometry, and it is hard, and it takes skills that are not the same skills that you use when solving an equation. Or when being a successful business person or celebrity or whatever it is that you do, there are skills that you need in marriage. That's why the book is called The Skills You Never Learned for the Marriage You Always Wanted. There are skills that people need and can learn for interacting with other people, especially those closest to them. And when we don't have that, and you think you ought to have, again, I think I'm smart, I should know this, but you don't if you haven't learned it.
Absolutely. I remember. What's funny is he's a marriage counselor himself, and that was his constant argument to his wife. Is I'm a marriage counselor. I counsel couples. If you just listen to me, our marriage could work. And he would use that in their
Wow.
arguments. And so that that blew my mind. Like, why would you say that? I would never say that. Just because I do it professionally doesn't mean I don't know. What do you think?
A marriage counselor who's trashing his marriage. That's sad. That's sad, man.
And I'm the friend, right? I'm the friend looking on the outside in, but it was hurtful. I think even more to her
I'm
because
sure.
because it dismisses how she feels, right? You're saying, hey, if you just listen to what I'm saying, because
I'm
I'm
right
using
and you're wrong. Yeah.
that is terrible. Okay, I want to pivot. I want
I
to.
feel bad. I
Sorry,
feel bad. Yeah.
sorry, friend. But yeah, please stop doing that, brother. Should couples stay together for the kids? I've heard that one. I think. Do you feel it's entrapment or emotion? You're holding someone emotionally hostage. What are your thoughts on that aspect?
It's interesting. I've just been thinking about this question and I've been asking around, when people stay together for the kids, do they end up with a happy marriage again in the end or not? So I've been having trouble finding research. I did hear from somebody who's pretty authoritative saying that yes, in fact, it doesn't matter what the motivation is. With good guidance, people can get back to a happy marriage. But I think the key point when it comes to this question is this: people often think, well, the kids will be better. We don't want to put them through a divorce. So here's an important message, an important thing to remember. Kids can survive divorce. They are much worse off when when their parents are in conflict. The most important thing is that the parents should be able to get along okay, whether they are married or not. If you can stay married and be kind and loving and caring and work together, that's the best. If you cannot, if you cannot be civil with each other and keep and manage the fighting and manage the arguments, the kids are better off if you split and you do not have that conflict. Of course, that means you have to split in a polite and respectful way and stop the arguing, right? Parents who drag their kids through the mud through a divorce, that's the worst. The worst case scenario is divorce and lots of conflict. The best case scenario is marriage and zero or little conflict. But marriage with a lot of conflict is not better than divorce with little conflict. Sometimes for some people, it's the right thing to split. That's better for everybody. certainly people should try couples counseling. Try the book. Try whatever you need to try to make it better. That's the first line of defense. If it's not going to work, if there's too much pain, if somebody is impaired, if one person has an addiction or something and is not going to get better because they're refusing to acknowledge it, there are many situations where that's the right thing to do. And staying together because you think it's better for the kids is not going to be better if the marriage is going to be full of conflict.
Absolutely. Do you counsel kids as well of couples?
I personally do not work with kids so much anymore. I used to, but I found that my niche is just better with adults and with relationship stuff. I do run a therapy practice, and we have folks who will see the kids, or I'll refer them out or whatever. Again, usually when people are coming to me, they're trying to manage the relationship between the two of them. And sometimes I'll say, look, this has been a tough time for you guys, and probably you should get your kids counseling to make sure they're doing okay. Sometimes I preside over a couple splitting up if they decide that's the best thing.
Absolutely. Hey, I have a thought. I'm not a counselor by any means. I'm a podcaster, and you guys should not be listening to a guy on YouTube.
I would like to hear your thought, Marcus. I'd like to hear your thought.
I think, right, the whole reason that you got with your wife, right, is there was a mutual understanding, there was a benefit, there was love, there was all the butterflies and stuff. I think what you're saying is right. If they work on the marriage, the kids will automatically be better through osmosis, just from being around a healthy quality relationship and seeing mom and dad coexist. Kids are adaptable. I think we don't give kids enough credit.
Yeah.
Kids will adapt to whatever, just like you said. If you guys split and there's no conflict, then kids will adapt. If you guys stay together and there's no conflict, kids will adapt. But I think like if too many people, I hear it too many times. Oh, I put my kids before my husband. I put my kids before my spouse, before my wife.
Yeah.
I think you need to remember why you got started in the first place, which is this woman.
The best gift you can give your children is a good marriage. If you want to take care of your kids, make sure that you're spending time together. A lot of people, I've spoken to a lot of women with mom guilt. Oh, I can't go away with my husband because, I have to take care of the kids. No. The best thing you can do for your kids is make sure that you are well cared for, that your marriage is in good shape. Nothing does that. They don't need an extra trip to Disney World or an extra dinner at home. They need you guys to be good with each other. They need low conflict in the home. They need to see parents who get along. They need a secure, stable environment. The best thing you can do for your kids is work on your marriage.
Love it. Love it. I want to circle back a little bit. I want to circle back because you brought it up, Mr. Raffi. Poly relationships. That's a new buzzword. I want to kind of put a buzzword out there. Can someone come to you? Hey, I got my 2 wives. We're not seeing eye to eye. Is that open to couples counseling?
There are certainly couples counselors who do that. I think that people need to be able to sort of like, there has to be a specialization for that. The work that I do, I don't think works for people who are trying to spread it around like that. I don't want to be judging. I'm not here to sort of tell my own personal views on it. When people have come to me like that, I said, look, I think you're better off with someone. There are people who specialize in poly relationships, ethical non-monogamy, whatever it is. Do your thing. I'm super supportive of you getting the help you need. I probably am not the best person for that particular thing. I'll tell you, another one of these great situations I had a couple come by, nice young couple. They weren't married, but he was.
Wait, what? So he brought his wife or the side piece?
He was having an affair with this woman, and he brought the affair woman in, and they wanted to get counseling
to work on the affair.
He said his marriage is dead. He's getting ready to leave. He met this other, well, etc. But they're having communication issues. They wanted to talk about it. Okay. Again, as a therapist, I'm not here to judge. I deal with all kinds of things. You want help? I'll help you. Okay. That was interesting. I mean, they only came one time. And I think that was largely because it didn't seem like he was actually going to be leaving his wife anytime soon. I think she was in this sort of, this common fantasy stage for the other woman. Like, oh, he's going to leave his wife for me. I'm not sure that was actually in the cards. And I think that may have come out. So I don't know. I don't really know what happened with them, but it was a fascinating situation when they came in and explained to me why they were there. I was like, oh, really?
I want to work on my relationship with the side chick instead of my marriage. So I imagine to some degree, I would say, hey, end the marriage, either go back and bring in, end the marriage or fix the marriage. But I need you to do that first.
Right. Well, so he said the marriage was like, effectively dead, and he was just sticking around because they had a kid and they had to this and he's planning to, etc. And and she was like waiting for this to happen. And I was kind of like, you know what? Why don't you tell him we'll work on this when you're divorced and we can move on? Like it seemed like it just wasn't quite, something was not right there, which you can tell from the beginning because they were having an affair and going to couples counseling. Like something wasn't right about this situation. Again, I'm not judging. I don't know these people. I don't know what they've been through. I can't say if they're good or bad. I try to do my best to help everybody that comes in get from where they are to where they want to be. Hopefully it works out.
That's honest. That's honest, right? That's honest. He's doing the best with what he has, and he's giving advice within his scope of work. So I applaud you for that.
Yeah, there's some people who are not going to make it very far. Some people are, impaired for whatever reasons. They have difficult childhoods. They're emotionally, wrecked. They need some therapy before. Okay, someone comes in and they want their marriage to go from C+ to B-. Great, we can do that. Maybe you're not going to make it to A+. Fine. Let's get you guys what you want, and then you'll decide how far you want to go.
Have you ever done that? Have you ever split up a couple? Like, listen, I need to see this man individually, or I need you to go to someone in my practice to see one-on-one, and get fixed individually before I can.
Yeah, I do this all the time. I often see, I'll spend some individual time with both of them. I usually do not do therapy for someone when I'm seeing them as a couple, but I'll say, look, you have a lot of stuff in your background, and you need to get some therapy for this to make this work. Like we can work on relationship stuff, but so long as you have this issue that's going on, alcohol dependence, child history of trauma, like all kinds of things that really make it hard for you to be the best person you can be, you got to work on those. Right. That's a you thing. And I do that again without judgment. Like it's not your fault that, you were abused as a kid, but now you got that. You got to work on that and heal that up if you're going to be in a good relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this. This is good. This is good. Can therapy, this comes up to me. Can therapy ever be harmful to a marriage?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of crappy therapists out there. I am not one of them, but there are those out there. I've definitely heard some horror stories. I've heard people say dumb things in the therapy room. And that's scary. I know that's scary for people looking for a therapist. What I would tell you is if something doesn't seem right, like go with your gut. If you're getting advice that's not working for you, that's making things worse, try somebody else. And sometimes it's not even a bad therapist. You have to jive with the person you're working with. So if it doesn't feel like a fit, okay, you try someone else. If you're getting advice that doesn't feel like it's quite right, try someone else. It's okay. Like it's not a personal thing. Like you have to find the right professional fit. So yes, there are people who will, be lousy therapists. I heard of a therapist who would fall asleep during her client sessions. And look, so again, I mean, that makes for a bad therapy experience. Again, no judgment on the therapist. If she is ill, if she has narcolepsy, whatever it is, maybe she shouldn't be a therapist if that's her issue. But okay, whatever it is. But yeah, like if that's not working for you, I wouldn't want to go to a therapist who falls asleep on me. So okay, you have to try somebody new. Yeah, you got to find what fits for you and what works for you.
I feel like that should be in your disclosures. Hey, I'm a narcoleptic therapist.
Honestly, that probably isn't the job for you if you have narcolepsy. But look, I don't know. I don't know what the deal was, but the person told me it happened to them, and then they looked on Google, and the Google review said, "Yeah, this lady falls asleep." So, okay, she had a problem. She was not taken care of. What can I tell you?
It's time to retire. It's time.
Could be.
And not put it to bed, quote unquote, put it to bed. I want to touch on some things, some core things. We touched on communication, which is the number one thing. Do you ever recommend couples bring up hard conversations like money, sex, parenting differences? I'm sure those things come up as well.
Yeah.
Do you ever recommend a couple talk about those things? Like, hey, we need to talk about these.
Those are the core things. Of course, we got to talk about those things. They cut to the core of who we are. And a lot of those things are the things that bring people in the first place, the money, the sex, the parenting stuff. Yeah. And we do talk about those. Often we won't start there unless that's like the big focus we have. That's what we came to deal with. But as often as not, those are lurking in the background, but really they come in saying we don't know how to communicate. And so we work on the communication patterns, and then we bring that to bear onto these topics. Like, okay, guys, so, this topic of parenting has come up a lot. Let's sort of bring this to, let's put this through our empathic dialogue practice and we'll talk about it in this way that we do, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, the ability to talk to your partner about the things that matter most to you is so relationship building. If I can't talk to you about these things that are so at the core of me, we're missing something out in this relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys got to talk about it. You guys got to talk about it. I feel like my therapist is like my lawyer. I got to tell you the truth so you know how to defend me, or I guess that's a problem, right? Like people will feel like, "Oh, you taking his side." Like, "No, I'm trying to work on the issue, but I need you to tell me the truth. I need you to tell him the truth."
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I remember hearing this like it was a husband and wife. The wife wanted to send the husband's therapist images, pictures, audio recordings. Do you allow that? Like, do you allow, like, if the wife wants to submit to you her husband's stuff that she found of the infidelity and she wants to send them to you, but you're not actively seeing the wife as a couple, like you're just working with the husband?
I've never done that. I can imagine it being a reasonable thing to do in some cases. Let's say, he comes to me and says, I want to be totally open. I want to fix this. I made a mistake. I need your help. And my wife wants to send you, the messages she found on my phone. Um, the truth is, the way I work, I'm not sure that would be terribly helpful. I just don't see that there's a particular value in it. Um, I really am open to seeing what the clients need most. I'm not so fixed in one way that I'll say, no, you can never do that. I try to roll with the clients. Most of the time, it's helping people reconnect. Sometimes you have a spouse who says, yeah, take my husband, take my wife. He needs therapy. She needs therapy. Fix them. And I'll say, well, this marriage has two people in it. And even if one person is causing most of the problems, like getting you guys back in connection is, I think, what's going to help. If you're going to be for individual therapy because you're depressed, you're anxious, whatever, that's one thing. But to have one person come and say, my wife says I need therapy because our marriage is not happy, like, let's get you guys both in the room. Let's work on this, right? Sometimes the wife will feel, well, it's not my problem. It's his fault. He's the one who cheated. And I have done it. And that may be true, but I'm not about fault. I'm not about trying to make someone right and someone wrong, because that doesn't usually work to make people feel better. I'm about what works. Let's figure out what works for you guys to have a good relationship, and let's do that. And let's not worry about right and wrong. Not to say that, like, I'm condoning affairs. I'm just saying I'm not dealing with that. You didn't hire me to I'm not the judge. I'm not your clergy person. I'm the therapist. I want to help you guys make it better. That's what I'm here for.
Absolutely. You're here to help us work on the thing, to work
Yeah,
on and address the
let's make
issue.
it better. I'm not here to tell you who's right and who's wrong. I'm here to make it better for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why do most men cheat? Why do you think?
Are you asking me why the majority of men cheat, or are you asking why most men who are cheating, why are they doing that?
Why do the I feel like, I don't have the data in front of me. I feel like the majority of men get caught cheating. In your experience, who cheats more, right? Who have you seen more of
In my
confessing and being caught?
so the statistics say that it's about even, at least until the later years. By the time you're in your 70s, 80s, it's clear that men are cheating more at that stage, which is still pretty unfortunate that you have people at 70 and 80 cheating on their spouses. Okay, it's a different story. In my practice, I have mostly seen couples come in for infidelity when it is the man who has cheated. I think that is incidental. I'm not sure if it's incidental, or maybe it's self-selected, in the sense that when women cheat, perhaps men are so much more humiliated and so much more upset that they never bother to come for counseling. They just walk away. That might be it, right? Women often still feel like they have to be tied to their husband. They're supposed to support their husband. That leaving for them can be more difficult. So that's a theory I have. But as far as whatever data they have out there, and the answers vary widely, it seems like infidelity is pretty popular among all genders, races, religions, and things like that.
Absolutely, it's cross board. Who initiates couples counseling the most? I feel like it's the women. I feel like women initiate counseling, marriage counseling, more than men.
I don't have the data on that. In my experience, that is the case. Because counseling is seen as like not masculine. Men don't talk about their feelings, and so women, I think, are often more open to that. More and more men are coming in for therapy. But certainly in my experience, it's the women who call up and say, hey, this is going on, we need help. And for them, it seems to be more of a norm. And, men are so often afraid of talking about their feelings that they think that therapy is going to be all about that, which it sometimes is, but not always.
That's true. That's true. I'm alpha male, right? I'm an alpha male. How do you coach that, right? The man who you're probably encouraging him, hey, I need you to be vulnerable in this moment, and he's viewing that as weakness. How do you teach couples that vulnerability is not weakness?
Well, I won't use the word vulnerable, that's for sure. Some guy comes in. I remember I had this guy come in looking a little bit like you, right? Bald head, except he had this like nasty look on his face, crossed arms, looking at me like, I'm not, didn't want to participate. And so often I'll just turn to them, and start off by saying, well, you look really ticked off just to be here. It looks like you're not happy to be here. And they go, yeah, I'm not, I'm here for her or whatever it is. And I'll just draw them in by just letting them vent, like what's bothering you, right? Let's forget about being vulnerable. Like, why are you angry? You're clearly angry. And letting them have some space to talk and showing them that I care about their stuff as much as I care about their wives. I think they're being dragged in by their wife, that, they're going to get blamed, that I'm going to side with the woman. I care about both my clients. I care about all my clients. So to say, you know what, your frustration, you don't like what your wife is doing any more than she likes what you're doing, that matters too. And I think that softens them up to know that, they count as well.
Absolutely. How do you stay neutral? I feel like that's impossible to
That's
stay neutral in couples counseling.
That's tough because, especially like, let's say you're dealing with infidelity, right? Where one of them cheated. Like, it's really hard to just go with that and not say, well, like, you shouldn't have cheated. There's a fine line between accountability and judgment, meaning, yes, okay, you cheated, for example, and you have to be accountable for that and fix things. And it's on your head. That doesn't mean I'm judging you. I don't think you're a bad person necessarily. I'm not here to judge you, right? People make mistakes. People do things that are wrong. Okay, let's fix that. Let's just do it differently. When I keep my eye on the ball of I want this to be better for you, and I stay humble, remembering that first of all, I'm not perfect. Second of all, you never know, right? When people come in and I hear the story, I'm like thinking like, oh gosh, this guy's a jerk. But then I hear his side of the story. I'm like, that actually makes some kind of sense. And that happens very often, where at first it sounds very one-sided, but as you get deeper into it, there's often two people in it. Not always. Sometimes that, we have an abusive relationship, there's one person who's at fault and the other person needs to get safe. But often when it's more, reasonable, less severe issues, there's some amount of sensibility on both sides. And again, keeping humble and remembering that I don't know the full story can help with that.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Love it. This is Mr. Raffi Bilek on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show, spilling the tea on couples counseling, marriages, and how we can do better and how we can achieve and how we can succeed in something that we're constantly failing on. And he wrote the book. He's an author, y'all, wrote the book on how to communicate effectively in our marriages and win. And the book is called the Couples Communication Handbook. Get it. Get it today. If you're on the fellas, stop waiting till she's pissed off to go get the book. Right? I think men, we wait too long. It was like, okay, now I need to get into counseling. No, you should have got into counseling the first argument, the first disagreement, the first time you had that inkling, that thought of, hey, what is going on here? You should have stepped in Mr. Raffi's doors.
A lot of people would do better if they would come a little sooner before things get dire.
Yeah. Have you ever had a couple walk out? Just listen, I don't want to hear anymore. I'm done.
Yeah, I've had one or the other of them like get up and say this is over. I'm not doing this, and they were gone.
Wow, that hurts.
Yeah.
Can one and I think you touched on this earlier. You said like it is possible, but I don't think it's possible with one person who's checked out emotionally.
If one person is walking away, I can't make you decide to stay and to feel good about this. But if we're both in this, and if you haven't decided to leave, then my efforts can make a big difference. If you're already on the way to the lawyer, there's limited amount I can do. Although sometimes even then at the last hour,
you can turn it around. But I feel it goes back to like the kids. I think people have checked out. Can a marriage last if I've checked out emotionally, but I'm still present actively and physically? Like I haven't cheated. I'm still doing the laundry. I'm still doing the yard. I'm still cutting the grass. I'm still doing all the things. I'm here present physically. Can a relationship recover? Can a marriage recover?
Yeah. If you wanted to, then it can. If you're prepared to put in the emotional labor and to sweat at it and to do things differently and to look at yourself, absolutely. But if you're waiting for something to happen, some sign from heaven to come down and be like, okay, it's better now. If that's not happening, it's going to take effort.
Had you ever experienced cultural differences? Like I remember it was a friend of mine. Her husband is Filipino, and he was raised very. The man works in the field. He makes all the money. He pays all the bills. Da 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 da. XYZ. The wife grew up in a different culture. She was Caucasian, and she shared it with me just in passing by. Like, oh, he doesn't show emotions. He just, he's every time she tries to probe him for emotions, he's like, well, you have access to my wallet, right? You have my debit card. You have my money. That's his way
Right.
of conveying, but it's a cultural difference. Can have you ever experienced that or
Right. I
spoken to
mean,
that?
look, it's hard enough when you come from the same culture to get what's in my head into your head. With different cultures, it's even harder. There's a bigger gap. Yes, I have seen that. And yes, it is more difficult. It just takes more openness and more understanding that the way that you see things is more different than it might otherwise be. Like we just see things differently. Someone who comes from an Eastern culture has a tough time understanding the individuality here. Maybe the money focus that goes on in America, all these things. So the tools are the same. It's just a bigger mountain to climb. Right, the tools of understanding, of getting a sense of where you're coming from, of trying to see the world the way you see it. It's harder work. It's doable. It's just an extra challenge.
Absolutely, absolutely. What's how do you? I feel like I feel like I know the answer to this. Do you use humor to diffuse an awkward moment in therapy? Do you use humor to ever like icebreaker type deal? Like
I love that stuff. I mean, you got to know when and where, but I think it's so helpful, especially, people come in, they're nervous, their word is going to be very bitter and hard and difficult. And, I crack a joke or two and I'm a little bit funny and it breaks the ice, it cools things down. And I think it helps a lot, for the therapist that can do it. I mean, not everybody needs to be a funny person, but I think it works for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it works. I think it works incredibly for you. And I applaud you for doing it. Like you said, it takes a finesse. It takes a finesse because dropping, the wrong joke at the wrong time can really set things off. But
Yeah, yeah, it's a fine line to walk, and you have to be careful. But with the right audience, and especially after they get to know you a little bit, and we get to joke around with each other, it just again, there's a relationship there, right? There's a relationship with a therapist that makes a difference to the therapy. And if you're in a relationship with me, then we're having a good time. I'm a fun person.
facts, facts. Book an appointment today, y'all. Get connected. I feel like you have some metaphors to break the ice, right? I think some professionals like yourself have metaphors that they use to explain a relationship dynamic when it's just like you have a client that's like not getting it. Your wife is concerned about this, or your husband is concerned about this, and it's not getting. So you use metaphors. What's the most unique or weirdest metaphor you've ever used to explain a relationship dynamic between couples?
This is a good question. I do love metaphors. It's hard to pop one out on the spot, but one that I've used before is called the wobbly woozy. I don't know if you know what the wobbly woozy is.
I do not.
Okay, so it's on a ropes course. You know, what a ropes course is where people go out and do these challenges on these ropes in the trees. So there's a one of the activities you can do is you have like there's three trees in a V, like kind of like this, and then there's a cable that goes from these two to these two, and so it's kind of like a wedge shape that's going out further and further. And what you have to do is the two people stand here and they hold hands, and you're shaking because the wires are like very shaky. And so you're holding hands and you're going out and you're going down towards the other trees, and you get further and further apart as the wires go apart. So there's this part like around here, around like where you're like reaching out and you're like trying to reach your partner. And at some point you realize you're both going to have to lean in and weigh on each other. And that's how you stay up and you push against each other very hard as you go down. And so you stay up on the wires. And it's that point of transition that I think people have to sort of swallow and like, okay, we're really in this relationship. We're going to go for it. And we lean in and we rely on each other. And if I lean in and you don't, we're landing on our faces in the mud. And so, basically that's a lot like a relationship. It's shaky, it's hard. We go together, getting farther and farther along. And one day comes the time where we got to say, you know what, I am in this relationship and I'm going to lean in and we're going to do this together. And it's scary and it's difficult and it takes effort and it doesn't, you have to try a couple times maybe. But when you get to that point and we say, okay, we're in this together, then you can get to the end. Without that, you can't get to the end.
Facts. Hashtag facts. Hashtag mic drop. If I could give him another mic to drop, I would. But that's a good one. That's a good one. There is a point. There's a crucible, right? That could be the tough times that people go through in marriages. That could be financial. That could be money. That could be sex. And we got to lean on each other. I remember. I don't know what her status is. If she's a couples counselor or what, or she was just talking, and she said, "Listen, one of the things that helped her marriage is that they do a daily check-in. Like, listen, what you got? Well, I got 80% today. And the other partner will be like, I got 30. Can you bear a little bit more today for
Yeah,
me? Because I'm not feeling it today. And they do that to like lean on each other, like you're saying. So I
great.
love that.
I love it.
That- That's huge. If you if you could rewrite, you had a magic wand or a magic pencil, right? And you could rewrite the marriage contract, right? What clause would you add or remove? What addendum would you make to the marriage clause or addendum as it's written today?
Whew.
I want you to feel through that. I really
Thank you
want
for
you
it.
to feel through
What
that.
would I add to that? I would add that people should sign on the line that I understand that you're a different person from me, and that's okay.
Mm.
So often people are trying to understand their partner through their own lens or make them agree or make them do things the way I would do it. I think when I understand that you're a different person and that's okay, and I can love you for who you are, and I can respect that you see things differently, it's a game changer.
Absolutely. So you would add that into the marriage clause and say, listen, you're going in with the understanding that this person, you can't change people. That's what I'm hearing. You can't change people into who you are or
You,
who you want them to
even
be.
before not change people is recognize that person is different. Often people aren't trying to change each other. They just don't realize, but you see things differently. It doesn't bother you if the house is messy, but it bothers me. So if I understand that that's okay with you, or maybe it does bother you, if you come from a family where interrupting is normal and I don't, like maybe it bothers you and I have no idea why, but it's okay. You can be different. You don't have to like my likes or dislike my dislikes. And if I can understand that you're different and accept that, then changing doesn't even come into the picture. You be who you are. You be the best version of you, and I'll support that.
This is epic. This is epic. I love this. Mr. Raffi, you have shared so many nuggets this episode. You have shared so many bombs this show. And I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate for what you do. And I want to say this to you publicly. Never quit. Don't ever quit. We need you. We need you. We're not doing better in marriages. We're getting worse. And I need you to keep going. Keep building that practice. Keep growing, sir.
Yeah, I'm glad for the opportunity, man. I want to spread the joy, spread the love. I want people to have the best relationships they can. So, trying to get the word out and let people know that it's possible.
Absolutely. For that young boy, that young man watching you right now and saying, man, marriage is a flop, marriage is a failure. What last nugget you shared? So many nuggets this episode. What's for that one last nugget you got in the hat that you could share to that young man watching you right now to say, hey, don't give up on marriage? Is it, give it another try? What would you say to that young man right now?
Put in the work and you can get it where you want to go. Yeah, if you start off and say, okay, this is going to be work and I got to figure out how to do it, you can get there. There are books, there are counselors. If you walk in thinking that it'll just be fine by itself, it probably won't be. Like anything else that's important to you, prepare to do the work and it can work out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How can people connect with you? How can people find you? How can people learn more?
Yeah, find me at thecommunicationbook.com. You can get the first 2 chapters of the book for free there on PDF, on audiobook, and see if it resonates. And if it does, there's a link there to Amazon where you can buy the book, which I hope will be helpful. You can reach out to me there. I do individual consultations. I work with couples. I work with people. There's blogs with more information. So that's the place, man. Thecommunicationbook.com. I hope it will help people.
Absolutely. Connect, y'all. It is incredible. You got to get your hands on a copy. Get on board today. And for our audio listeners, that's thecommunicationbook.com. Get connected. All right, y'all. We are out of time. We got to let this incredible man go. He has many more lives to change, many more couples and marriages to save, and many more people to help take their marriage to the next level. So we got to let him go. So, like we end every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always, always take care of business. This is Marcus, your favorite host, and the incredible Mr. Raffi Bilek signing off. Love you guys. Bye.